Hello everybody and welcome to another live research video where in today's video we will be taking a deep dive into the matchup between Zelim Imadaev and Danny Roberts. And don't forget, if you are watching live on Twitch, twitch.tv/Diary of a Pro Gambler, do not forget to leave any questions you've got for me in the live chat and I will get to them throughout this video. And guys, I want to do another business deal with you. If you would like me to put out a breakdown tomorrow for the main event between Zabit Magomedsharipov and Calvin Kattar, and if you'd also like me to do a breakdown between Greg Hardy and Alexander Volkov, hit the like button on this video. And if this video receives 300 likes, I will drop a breakdown video in the traditional format tomorrow, where we whiz through the fights really quickly. So 300 likes, guys. Smash the like button and we will get that video out tomorrow, as well as a couple of other fights. Like maybe we could do the Roosevelt Roberts versus Alexander Yakovlev one, something like that. We'll do a few of the fights. So smash the like button, guys, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. So the reason why I chose to research this fight as one of the first fights that I covered this week was because Zelim Imadaev was one of the first names that jumped out at me when I began scanning through all the fights that take place this weekend. You guys know my process by now. Monday morning, when I sit down to start researching the fights on the upcoming weekend's events, I will scan through all the matchups and where I think the best betting opportunities may be. You know, those names that jump out at me as good potential bets, they're the fights I will research first. Now, of course, the first name out of everyone that jumped out at me was Popov, because I thought he might have been a decent bet to beat Davy Grant. That turned out not to be the case. I've done a separate breakdown video on that. But Imadaev, another one of the names that jumped out at me, because when you look at a guy like Danny Roberts, you know, he's British. I love him. I love British fighters, but remember, there are no emotions in this game, no favourites, no biases. I don't have any favourites, don't have any biases. At the end of the day, the only thing I care about is making money. And even though Danny Roberts is a very technical, very talented fighter, you know, his weaknesses, generally speaking, are the kind of weaknesses that, you know, Russian Sambo guys should be able to exploit. He is a little bit chinny, which is unfortunate. You know, it doesn't take much to knock him out, or at least, you know, drop him. And also his takedown defense isn't very good, and he's also quite weak off his back. You know, if you have a look through his record, you know, knocked out by Nordine Taleb, knocked out by Michel Pereira, knocked out by Mike Perry, and, you know, he was knocked down by Bobby Nash, knocked down by David Zawada. This guy struggles. And obviously, if you're fighting a Russian Sambo guy, most Sambo guys are dangerous standing and they're very, very strong wrestlers. So with Roberts being chinny and having bad takedown defense, that's the reason why Imadaev is one of the first names that jumped out at me. But obviously, we're concluding kind of like my research in these videos. So I've already watched 3 or 4 of Danny Roberts' fights. I've already watched Imadaev's last fight, which was his UFC debut against Max Griffin. And I've got to be honest, really speaking, with the weaknesses that Roberts has got, pretty much any, you know, combat Sambo guy that I've seen in the UFC would be able to give Roberts problems. You know, they all hit hard, they've all got great cardio, they've all very strong grapplers. But I couldn't believe what I was seeing when I went and watched Imadaev's UFC debut. I was very, very surprised, because he is one of the very few combat Sambo guys that also has poor takedown defense, is also quite weak off his back, and is also quite sloppy when it comes to striking. You know, in this fight, Imadaev, very easy to take down, no urgency to work back to his feet when Griffin did take him down. Very, very sloppy as well. Throws lots of like weird spinning attacks and stuff. Just not a very technical striker, not a very fluid striker, which is really unfortunate, because I felt that he would be a great bet against Danny Roberts, and based on his UFC debut, I'm not so sure. But obviously, in this video, we're going to be making our final decision. We're going to be watching 4 fights of Zelim Imadaev together to determine whether he is worth a bet or not. I mean, Danny Roberts, even at underdog odds, I mean, if we look at the odds at the moment, we have got Danny Roberts at around about 2.75, which is plus 175. for an implied probability of 36%. You know, to get any real value on Roberts here, you'd have to give him around a 45% chance of winning. Roberts is not a guy that I want to bet on this weekend. Like I say, he is chinny, does have bad takedown defense, quite weak off his back. Plus, he's got to fly to Russia and fight a Russian in his own backyard, which is obviously going to be very difficult. So, I'm not interested in betting Roberts at these odds. But if we look at Imadaev, currently around about, call it a 1.50 favourite, which is minus 200 for an implied probability of 67%. You know, I could definitely get down with betting on a Russian in Russia who is fighting someone like Roberts with so many weaknesses that he could potentially exploit. But I can't bet on Imadaev based on what I saw in his debut against Griffin. However, he is only 24 years old. He is going to be making big improvements from fight to fight. If we look at so both guys roughly the same size. What I am hoping for is obviously fighters never show their best in their UFC debut. You know, sometimes they do, but most of the time they underperform. You know, a massive percentage of fighters lose when they make their UFC debut. So I don't want to be too harsh with Imadaev for how he looked against Griffin. Maybe, you know, it was just octagon jitters, feeling nervous, competing under the bright lights of the UFC for the first time. Maybe he underperformed. So what I'm hoping to see is him look a lot better in these fights we're going to watch together today. So that's pretty much how these guys match up from a technical point of view. You know, Roberts has got loads of weaknesses that an opponent should potentially be able to exploit, but Imadaev, very low level striking, very low level grappling. I mean, he's got decent cardio, he's game, but from a technical point of view, not great. So if we look at where these boys are training, Danny Roberts obviously is always in phenomenal shape, usually trains at the Black Zillions, but a while back, I think going back sort of like 18 months to 2 years, he was starting to get homesick because I think he had like a new baby or something. So he was spending so much time out in Florida, away from his family in the UK. And about 18 months to 2 years ago, he made the conscious decision to start training the majority of his training time, the majority of his camps in the UK. So because of that, I'm not actually sure where he's training at the moment. As you can see, there really aren't that many training pictures. I mean, since this was posted on September 16th, hasn't posted really any pictures of his training at all. So I'm not sure where Danny Roberts is training for this fight, but it doesn't look like he's training at the Black Zillions for this one. And then if we look at Zelim Imadaev, so Imadaev was a bit of a nomad. He was traveling around loads of different gyms, getting loads of different looks. But here we can see it finally looks like he may have settled on training in New York. This is Mark Henry, the legendary trainer of Zabit Magomed Sharapov, who's also competing in the main event. Here we can see him training with Zabit. So looks like Imadaev is now training in New York. Possibly at Renzo Gracie's. Any picture him with Renzo Gracie? I know that Zabit spends a bit of time there. Possibly with Nick Catone. But certainly with Mark Henry. So at just 24 years old, you would expect Imadaev to be making big improvements from fight to fight. And if we look at his last fight against Griffin, it was about 6 months ago now. So I'm sure he has improved a lot since then. But now what we are going to do, boys, let's get into watching some footage. And also, I need to stop saying boys. I need to get out of that habit because I was checking my stats, my YouTube analytics, and apparently 2% of my viewers are now female. So shout out to all the ladies watching this video. Really, really appreciate it. So I do need to start. I need to start respecting that and then stop saying boys, basically. So let's get into watching some fights. So because of how many weaknesses Danny Roberts has in his game, he also tends to slow down quite a bit of a fight as the fight progresses. I don't need to see much from Imadaev to bet him here, particularly because he's got home advantage and he's a tough Russian with decent cardio and a decent chin. But I do need to see more from him than what he showed me in the Max Griffin fight. So let's take a look. This is his fight immediately before he got into the UFC against Ivan Gluak. This took place back in March 2018, so well over a year ago. But just remember, he's 24 years old, so he's likely to look a lot better now than he did back then. So let's get into it, boys. And don't forget, drop a question in the live chat on Twitch if you'd like to ask me anything about this fight or anything about the fights this weekend, although I haven't researched many. But if you do want that breakdown, as I say, for the fight between Volkov and Hardy, and also Calvin Kattar against Zabit Magomedsharipov, please do not forget to hit the like button below. If we get 300 likes, we will do it. So I think this fight ends very, very quickly. Imadaev's the guy in the red shorts. His opponent coming out very aggressive. That'll do it. It's over. Okay. Didn't learn anything about Imadaev there, apart from the fact he hits hard, but then his opponent was stood right in front of him with his chin up high and exposed. Now let's get into the next fight that we're going to watch of him. I believe this is against Yuri Izotov from September 2017. So with Imadaev only being 24 years old, you know, he's probably 23, 24 back when this fight took place. Probably going to be looking a lot better than this. So this time he's in the black shirts. So very early on into this fight. I think, yeah, we're only like 15 seconds into the first round. Here you can see his bad takedown defense on display, really. I mean, his opponent was able to drag him to the ground very, very easily there. And had his opponent had a little bit more athleticism, bit more drive on that body lock takedown, he would have been able to flatten Imadaev out and establish a dominant position. But here he is now working for a position against the cage. I think this fight ends pretty quickly as well. The whole video is only 3 minutes and 33 seconds long. So Imadaev choosing to go to the overhook to defend the takedown on the left-hand side. Not the smartest thing to do. It's a technique a lot of Muay Thai fighters like to use, but you're much safer if you go to the underhook, which he is not attempting to do right now. But he is doing a good job of fighting hands on his right side to prevent Izotov from being able to connect his hands together and get the body lock, which he used to drag Imadaev down to the ground just about 30 seconds ago. So Imadaev, very nice knee there. Tried to land a nice elbow on the break. Here we go. Very nice leg kick. His opponent shot in on a really nice deep double leg takedown there, but retreated and rolled to his back. Seeing a little bit of Imadaev's ground game, which is nice here. Even though he didn't have to get the takedowns, his opponent basically pulled guard. Obviously, Roberts is quite weak off his back. Quite poor takedown defense as well. Wonder how this fight ends, because it's due to end like real soon. And Izotov's not really in any danger here. Imadaev's going to let him back up, is he? Is that where the knockout comes from? Is it a knockout? Is it a submission? Looks like it has to be a knockout. He doesn't really have much time to get a submission off here. Axe kick, very nice. Imagine taking one of them to the balls. Savage. Okay, Imadaev is cut somehow on his right eye. Leg kick. Nice knees in the clinch. Very nice clinch work from Imadaev. How does this fight end? Izotov looking very tired now. Spinning elbow. Vicious. Very nice. Don't tell us a lot about Imadaev, but... oh well, nice spinning elbow. Now we go on to watching the next fight from... against Guliev. This took place in May 2017. Another quick finish. Let's see what Imadaev gives us here. So again, his opponent going to his back very easily. Just like in the last fight, really. His opponent pulled guard. This time, 5 seconds into the fight, the guy was already lying on his back. Imadaev chipping away at his opponent from full guard. He's just hammering him with elbows. His opponent not making any attempt to get back to his feet, even though he is close to the cage. His fight's certainly not telling us much about Imadaev, which is unfortunate. Just hammering his opponent from top position with very nice ground and pound. Of course, we don't really know about anything about his top game because his opponent's made no attempt to improve his position or get back up, although it is safe to say Imadaev with absolutely vicious ground and pound. Very nice. His opponent just turtling up here. Doesn't want anything to do with Imadaev's ground and pound. Again, didn't really get to learn anything about Imadaev there. Guliev literally just rolled to his back. Now, I can't find this fight against Chorshanbiev. But if anyone out there knows where I can find this fight, please leave it in the comments in the YouTube videos. Guys, I love reading all your comments. Don't always have a chance to respond, but I do love reading every single one of your comments. So please drop it in the comments below if you know where I can find this fight. But we do have this one. Bearing in mind, though, again, don't want to be too harsh on Imadaev, as this fight was back in 2016, so almost 3 years ago now, which means Imadaev would have been like 21 years old, and the guy he was fighting was making his pro debut, so don't believe we're going to be able to learn much from this one either. We will see. We will see. So it looks like Imadaev is the guy with the ankle wraps and the all black shorts here. What I will say about the footage that we've seen, I mean, it's kind of difficult to form too strong of an opinion, but what I would say is Imadaev, and there you see his poor takedown defense on display, though. I mean, his opponent easily put him on his back off a single leg there, but very nice to see Imadaev work into his feet quite quickly, which is something he didn't do in his debut against Max Griffin. In his debut, when Griffin took him down, he just took way too long to work his way back to his feet. But I was just saying, one thing that I am noticing here is that, and actually in flashes in spurts of the last few fights we've watched of him, his hand speed's much faster. He's a lot more explosive in these fights that I've seen from him compared to how he looked in his debut against Griffin, which is something, I guess. Doesn't blow your hair back, though. I will say that. Then again, this is 3 years ago. Decent base to work from. How much has he improved since then? I mean, he's aggressive. He's got a decent chin. But again, terrible takedown defense. Is he able to pop back up quickly, though? That's what I want to see here. Very reckless. I mean, it's just a question if you want to bet a guy like this at an implied probability of like 67%, right? Do you give this guy a 72% chance of winning, because that's a number you need to get to? And he's going to rubber guard here for some reason. And he literally has nothing here. I mean, it was quite nice when we saw him taken down earlier on in this fight, where he was looking to work his way back to his feet quite quickly, but here, not so much the case. Not so much the case at all. And what we are going to do, boys, after this fight, we're going to wrap this live stream up. But I am going to go straight into researching another fight. We are going to do the fight between Abubakar Nurmagomedov and David Zawada next. So what's going to happen is, once we're done with this fight, I'll summarize how I feel about this one. Then we will close this live stream down, and I'll kick off a new one literally within a couple minutes, where we'll go into that next fight. Oh, I've just noticed Imadaev's on top. How did that happen? His opponent's rolled for a guillotine, is he? I mean, he could just be chilling. I mean, he's chilling in side control here. How does he end up on the bottom? Thought about taking mount there, but Imadaev does a good job of keeping that left leg up high to prevent him. So Imadaev literally just stands back up. But that was more to do with what Tuzov did wrong. So if you look here, Tuzov basically gave Imadaev enough space here to just stand back up, and he baited him into standing back up. So Tuzov gave Imadaev enough space to stand back up so he could pull guard on a guillotine attempt. Probably not the smartest thing to do. Midway point of the round, and of course now Tuzov is in a tricky position, because if he doesn't get this, which I'm guessing he doesn't, Imadaev is just going to end the round in top position, which means he probably steals the round. Eveb M has said, what do you think about Kopylov and Carl Robertson? Haven't researched that fight yet, dude. We'll probably do a live research video for that one tomorrow, if you are about. We'll do a live research video for Robertson and Kopylov. And guys, if you're watching this after the fact on YouTube and you want to get in on these live research sessions, please follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Diary of a Pro Gambler. I'll be doing a lot of these live research videos this week, because there are so many fights with footage that we can use to basically get a read on these fights. Although struggling to get a good read on this Imadaev fight, because so many of his fights have gone to the ground when he hasn't initiated the takedown. Doesn't look very good off his back. Doesn't have the best takedown defense. Difficult to gauge his striking. Striking didn't look good against Max Griffin. Looks much faster in these fights though. So maybe, you know, it was a bad debut for him. Maybe it was an awkward debut. And this fight's similar to the last one, where, you know, his opponent is close to the cage. He's got his back tight to the cage, but really making no attempt to work his way back to his feet. Just letting Imadaev hammer him with ground and pound. Again, doesn't really tell us much. This guy just stays on his back for the rest of the rounds. Literally tells us nothing about Imadaev. I mean, it doesn't even tell us that... I mean, this isn't even showing that Imadaev's got a heavy top game, because his opponent's not making any attempt to get back to his feet. Literally telling us nothing. Oh my god, are you fucking serious? Has he literally just come out and just clubbed his opponent and KO'd him? I want to see more of Imadaev, man. I want to see more of Imadaev. I want to watch this fight, because I think he could be a good bet here. Clearly is quite explosive and quite fast. Roberts is very chinny. Doubt Roberts has got much for him on the ground. But you'd have to cap Imadaev at 71 to 72%. Is this fight available? Ended in a minute. What really are we going to learn in a minute? And all these guys are making their debut. This the one we want? Oh, yes. What are we going to learn about this fight? From this fight, even. Anything new? I mean, it ends in a minute, so probably not. Just trying to gather information on Imadaev, because I think he might be a good bet. Imadaev is the geezer with a white, kind of off-white cross on his shorts, which isn't an off-white cross. This is the problem, man. Imadaev looks like he could be a good bet, but literally all his opponents are just handing wins to him on a plate. Like, all of his opponents are going to the ground so easily. When they're on the ground, they're making no attempt to get back to their feet. We haven't really seen any of Imadaev striking. Very, very difficult to gauge. Did the referee literally just stand him up after 40 seconds of being on the ground? Brilliant. Top class reffing. Nice spinning back kick. And is that the fly? You need to put him away. Oh well, we didn't learn anything there, boys. What is this? No. Didn't learn anything about Imadaev there. His fights played out pretty much how all of his other ones did. Let's see if we can find this one from August 2016. Nope. Alright, boys. What I am going to do is... I would love to watch this fight. So if you do know where I can find this fight, guys, please leave a comment on YouTube. I'll just double check one more time. I would love to watch this fight. It's not that one. We've watched that. Is it this one, maybe? What's this? Oh, definitely not that. Alright, can't find it, guys, but if you can find that fight, I would really appreciate... Ooh, what's this? What is this? Is this what we need? Don't really know what I'm looking for. Right, boys, if you can find this fight, let me know in the YouTube comments. But what I am going to do, before I make my mind up on this one, probably going to go back and watch Imadaev against Max Griffin one more time before I make my mind up, although I was really underwhelmed by him. But at the moment, it's a pass from me, just because I can't cap Imadaev at 71 to 72% based on what I've seen. I mean, we've barely learned anything about him. Didn't look good in his UFC debut against Griffin, like I keep saying. But at the same time, Roberts is very chinny. Bad takedown defense. Weak off his back. So maybe Imadaev's worth a bet. You're a big boy. You can make your own mind up based on what I've shown you today, based on what I've told you. I'm going to go and have another look at this fight later on tonight and then decide. So that is going to be it for this breakdown, guys. But if you're watching live on Twitch, I will be back literally in 2 minutes to break down another fight where we're going to be going through the David Zawada versus Nurmagomedov fight. So hang tight, boys. I'll be back just in a sec. And remember, everybody watching this on YouTube, if you would want a video breakdown on the fights between Zabit Magomedsharipov and Calvin Keita and also Greg Hardy against Alexander Volkov, hit the like button on this video. And if this video gets 300 likes, I will drop that video tomorrow. Take care, everybody. If you're on YouTube, I'll see you soon. If you're on Twitch, I'll be back in a couple of minutes. See you in a bit, boys. I'll be back soon.